Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to our webinar today. My name is Mary Firm, and I am the Director of Marketing for ReachForce, and I'm also a SmartForms user. And today we're going to be talking about the overview of ReachForce SmartForms. We're also going to give you a detailed demo, but I'm going to be introducing some of the customer wins that have been experienced from the case studies that we've researched, and show you a few other supporting pieces of info. And then I'll be handing the baton to Jennifer Jacobman, our territory manager, who is probably the most experienced person I know at answering your detailed questions about SmartForms, because she does this for all her clients. So ReachForce has created a connected marketing data cloud, which includes precision marketing, marketing insights, and predictive marketing solution suites. And SmartForms is one of the key products in our precision marketing solution. So to take full capabilities and drive your highest potential for marketing automation systems, we marketers need data that is correct and complete, especially in B2B. So by applying SmartForms at the beginning of the lead capture process, we're all able to capture much more complete and correct information, and the segmentable data such as industry or revenues or location is captured from the very first touch. And with SmartForms, you not only capture that metadata around industry, but you're also getting a full mailable street address, company revenues, along with NICS codes, SIX codes, etc., all of which you will use for your type of precise segmentation and nurture. And up on the screen, I'm just showing some of the documented wins that we have from our case studies. Depending on the length of the form you have now, there could be, if you're asking 50 questions and you cut your form, I guarantee you'll see quite a landing page increase in your conversion rate. But you know, this is very much dependent on the way that the form is when you start. But Marketo saw a 34% increase in landing page conversions, and LeadMD, which is currently publishing a case study, they saw a 26% increase in conversion rates. And LeadMD also saw a 41% ROI on SmartForms in just 2 months. And so I'm actually waiting for the update on that stat. And every one of our clients has experienced faster, more accurate sales routing because of how granular you can get with the solution. So one of my favorite case studies of all time was Web Trends. Melissa Patterson is awesome. If you've met her, you know this is true. When we reported this case study, you know, we have a content investigator who goes out and researches with the clients according to a very structured framework, because we do try to report at a very factual basis, because marketers are all about the metrics. And this case study just blew me away, because the speed with which we are able to attend to a lead correctly and nurture it to your sales group, it makes a huge impact on your funnel. And so when Web Trends implemented SmartForms, they were using Eloqua, and they were using progressive profiling with Eloqua. So we added the SmartForms solution to the form with progressive profiling. And what occurred was, to me, truly amazing, because they were able to complete a progressive profile that previously had taken 3 touches, 3 visits, over an average of 20 days, down to just a single visit. The first time they filled out a form, they were able to complete the progressive profile, which then gave Web Trends a 3-week jump on their nurture and segmented lead flow. And in doing so, along with these more granular nurture programs, Web Trends actually experienced a 40% increase in their sales pipeline each quarter subsequent to implementing SmartForms. So it's been a huge change in their business just from this one simple solution. So one of the things that we set out to do with when we started developing SmartForms was we all have different solutions in our businesses, and sometimes we switch from solution to solution, and it really depends on everything to do with how our marketing is going and or what tool sets we require. And so what you see on screen are 5 of the main major marketing automation solution providers, and all of these are people with whom we partner, and they're all solutions that we have implemented SmartForms for clients. And so we have learned the intricacies of each because we feel that we want to create solutions that work for the way you do marketing rather than any other way, because there is no other way. Marketers, we want to do it our way. So this is really interesting. This is some research that we received from Marketo, and you know, if you looked at some of John Miller's work, he was very early on published very, very explicit information and details around his own lead flow, which is part of how the Revenue Cycle Analyzer came out with that solution. And so this is an example of that type of research. So when you look over on the right side of your screen, I'm going to go, yes, on the right side of your screen, I always look at this and think it should be the opposite. So the 9-field form over there on the right has a conversion rate on page of 10%. So you get the people to the landing page through either content marketing or a paid search, whatever, social, you tweeted something and here they come. And with this 10-field form, which has all the questions that you require in your business to qualify this lead and figure out how to deal with it, this one had a 10% on-page conversion rate, resulting in this instance, in this example, at a cost per lead of $41.90. So by removing 2 fields in that medium length form, you see that the conversion rate is now 12%, and the cost per lead has been reduced to about $35. But moving all the way to reducing it to 5 fields, you can see that the on-page conversion rate that Marketo experienced was all the way up to 13.4%. And this is significant because it saved them $10 per lead, and all of those gains flow through the rest of their funnel. So this is an example of what SmartForms does. So Jennifer's going to go into more detail and show you some really, really cool and specific granularity around SmartForms. But at a high-level basis, you have a landing page form, which you see underneath, and you're asking for basic information, in this case, first and last, email address, company name, and phone number. When you submit the lead, additional information is appended by SmartForms, and all of the appended information that you see here, which is just an example, it could be, you could take 4 times this much information, or you might just only need 10 fields. It's completely customized to the client. And so this is all going to enter with the lead as it goes into your CRM, and it lets us in the marketing group begin to tee up the segmented and customized nurture and marketing programs from as soon as the confirmation page from the form submit, or even the email to thank them for downloading a white paper. Now this is a really interesting graph to me. This was published in a blog post by Lori Forrester, sorry, I did that again, Lori Wisdo at Forrester last October. And this is the Forrester buyer journey. And so a lot of us are familiar with the Serious Funnel. This is the buyer journey. And I love this slide because I think this really speaks to the way that B2B buying has evolved. And we're getting away from a straight pipeline. There is no straight path to close. I think we all know that. There's a lot of eddies and flows in the nurture cycle, and I think this really represents it. But the really important thing to remember is that a lot of times buyers are doing a ton of research in the background, speaking to other marketers, going into forums, visiting your website, your competitors' websites, often as anonymous leads. They've never given you a name. They haven't been cookied. And you don't know they're out there. And what Lori Wisdo said was that today's B2B buyers are 2/3 to 90% of the way through their purchase journey before they reach out to the vendor. So I think that a lot of us have started to experience this, where when we get that first contact us form from a potential client, they're saying we're looking for solutions. We've got a short list. There's 3 names. You're on it, so please give us some information. So it's a very compressed sales cycle. You need to know as much as you can about that buyer at that very first touch. So this was our way of encapsulating a lot of the customer wins and industry research around what does it mean in inbound marketing space, and what does it mean to have more information at the beginning of your process. And what we've done is, if we look at this, and by the way, I know this is a very complicated chart, and there will not be a quiz afterwards, but I will be making this available to you after the webinar. So just 3 points here. If you look at the very top of the screen, where you see that 34% increase in the big round circle, that's represented by the point that I touched on earlier with the Marketo results using SmartForms. And they were able to get 34% increase in their leads, and so we represented that with a wider funnel at the top. So you're getting more leads at the very beginning. And then, because the speed to complete the profiling information is so accelerated, as we remember from hearing the web trends information, plus we have more precision nurture conversations happening. And also the speed with which we deal with leads has an impact on how many ultimately convert to a sales prospect. And when you combine this research together, you see that there is a higher percentage of MQLs and sales accepted leads. And because you're handling it faster, you're more responsive to the customer in the way that they need to be responded to, you're seeing a higher close rate. And in many cases, when you are the first to get to the business, the deal size actually increases. So we've represented that increased deal size. And that's straight from the Web Trends case study, where their pipeline was 40% bigger. So when you get to the end of this new improved SmartForms funnel, you're actually seeing an incredible increase in the amount of revenue. And everyone's situation is different, but all of these are documented based on best practice or case studies that we have reported with our customers. So now I am excited to turn over the screen and the presentation to Jennifer, who is going to be pulling up our SmartForms demo and taking you through some really great examples. So welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. You can refer to me as JJ, as they do here at ReachForce. And what I'm going to be going through is a little bit more granularity on the process of SmartForms, how it functions, what output you get, and the value that it could add to your system. So here you see an example of what Mary mentioned earlier. Marketo kind of preaching the core for what's your name, email, company, phone number, and we can take care of the rest. So this is an example of the Contact Us on ReachForce's website, since we use what we sell. And me as a salesperson, I love having SmartForms utilized, because now we don't have to manually go look these up like we used to. So let's say that I work, as an example, at Apple. So here's my core 4. And also, thank you, Mary. Apparently I cannot type today. And it's also important to mention that we recently expanded our data set to include over 220 countries. So if you do have a global presence, and international matching is of value to you, it's definitely a field that you can utilize as well to segment a little further based on country. And we have access to over 220 million global records, giving us some of the highest match rates in the industry. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to keep it to domestic, so I'm going to ignore this field for now. So as the user hits submit or contact us or free download, whatever you have on your website, the user is then prompted to confirm their company's location with this confirmation box. Now it's important to mention that this is completely customizable to look and feel however your company would like it to. Things like color, size, font, what it says up here at the top. You can even show up to 10 options. We here at ReachForce choose to show the top 5 based on size. But let's say I work at this location down the street from ReachForce. That's it. That's the user experience. That's all they see on their end. You as the marketers on your end are able to capture and consume all of this firmographic data via hidden fields. So you see here that now you have the full address, standardized company name. You also have the employee count for that branch location. And if you're like ReachForce in that you route based on headquarter information, you can also capture that Apple Inc. is headquartered in Cupertino, California, and they're a billion-dollar company with 60,000 plus employees. Mary mentioned industry firmographic data earlier, and we can certainly provide you with 4-digit SIC codes, industry names, even the NAICS code as well. Now, prior to us utilizing our own solution, had someone have put Texas as their state, because that's what we route based off of, this would have been incorrectly routed to our central territory manager, when quite frankly, it should have gone to me because I am the California territory manager. So you can see here that this really helps improve the accuracy and efficiency of your lead routing in real time. So down here at the bottom, you may have noticed that there was options for domestic HQ and global HQ information. Obviously, in this particular example, Apple Inc. in Cupertino is as high as it goes in the company hierarchy. But I want to give you an example of where that's not the case and why this might be of value to you. So one of my biggest lead gen customers is a company called SuccessFactors, and they're a great example of this. So here are their top 5 locations in North America. And I'm a Texas girl, so let's say for the purposes of this demo that I work in their San Antonio branch. So again, user experience is complete, and you as the marketers could consume the branch level information, so site level as we call it for San Antonio, Texas, and the HQ information in San Mateo, California. But is it also important for you to know that they're actually owned by SAP, and their global ultimate parent is SAP in Germany? So this is a great example of how with one click of a button, you can capture 19 data points across 4 levels of the hierarchy in real time before it enters your marketing automation and syncs to your CRM engine for your lead assignment roles, as Mary mentioned also, to help you with your segmented marketing campaigns. So that's basically SmartForms in terms of the user selecting their company. So you'll notice here confidence level says user. But you may have noticed an option for none of the above. So I'd like to show you what happens in that scenario. So let's say I visited one of your all's websites and I just wanted to download a white paper and I didn't really care to comply with this form. So I'm going to use myself as an example. And here's my Core 4. Okay, and if I hit submit, clearly it's finding ReachForce in Austin, Texas. And that's obviously what I should be selecting, but let's say I really don't want sales to call me, and so I hit none of the above. What's going to happen then is what we call remediation, which is a fancy word for, matching our algorithms. So what we're going to do is then use logic to say, okay, JJ did not select her company, but let's look at her data on the submit and see if we can find the associated record. So what we're going to do is use our proprietary technology in real time to say, okay, email domain is reachforce.com. Does that match to the company URL website reachforce.com? Yes, it does. ReachForce typed in as company name. Does that match to ReachForce Inc.? Yes, it does. Clearly, I gave a cell phone number, but does the 512 of my area code match to the company phone number? And yes, it does. To add to that, as an extra check, we recently implemented reverse IP geo lookup as well to give inferred state and country and area code, as you can see here, Texas, USA 512. So all 4 levels pass the check, right? So the confidence level, even though I didn't select my company, as you can see, is a pass. So this is a pass score. Our typical customers can see about 70% matches of user select and pass scores. But there may be some instances where you may allow ISP emails on your website, or someone's giving a different area code of a phone number, right? So we will score the matches for you based on past reviews and fails. So I'd like to give you just a quick example because I get asked this question by my customers quite often. What happens if someone gives their personal email? So I'd like to show you that even though I gave yahoo.com, as long as I'm still, giving my company information, and again, phone number is optional field. If you don't want to ask it, we still have the inferred geo via the IP lookup. But in this case, you can see that the yahoo.com did not affect my confirmation box selections. Nowhere on here do you see Yahoo Inc. And that's because only one data point said yahoo.com, and the other 3 is pointing to ReachForce Inc. in Austin, Texas. So again, the user would be prompted to confirm their selection. Even if they hit none of the above, that's still not going to throw off our match. We are still going to give you a pass score that JJ is associated with ReachForce Inc. So just because there's, Yahoo, Hotmail, Gmail, etc., should not affect SmartForms. They do not have to give a business email domain. Now, As I mentioned earlier, we have about 70+% on average that's user pass domestic. If it's international, that rate can drop a little bit. But I want to mention where there could be a review. A review could happen if, let's say, I also had a conflicting area code because I worked, in a different location. What would happen then is the confidence level would say review because we only have 1 or 2 data points to match off of. And we recommend as a best practice that you put that into a different nurture track and that you have, sales give it a second set of eyes. Last but not least, the only other 2 confidence levels that you could get captured would be a fail or a not found. A fail can happen if someone gives you a bunch of junk data. For example, maybe my first and last name is, NA, self, not provided, emails jj@jj.com. Company, as well as NA, and then of course, phone number is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Then, quite frankly, there's no company record we could match to, so that is going to be a fail, and we're also going to flag that as junk for you. This past quarter, we recently implemented a junk detection program in SmartForms that our customers are thrilled about, so that you can now, not waste your time putting this data into your CRM, and as we all know, junk in equals junk out, so it's a good filter to have. Last but not least, the only other scenario would be a not found. And this can happen, typically I would say 10 or less than 10% of the time. If there could be a company record, but it's just not one of the 220 million global records that we have access to. What would happen in that case is you would still get the data that you're asking for on your submitted, input fields. And you would not get any of this ReachForce appended data. But you would still get the inferred state, country, and area code if you would like the geography to help route your lead in real time, regardless of the data not being appended. So that was also something new that we implemented this past quarter. So lots of product advancements that we're excited about. And those are pretty much all the scenarios. As a best practice, we always recommend that you consume the confidence level to determine which queue it can go into. Now, some of you all may be wondering, okay, how do we implement this, and how does this pricing model work? So I'd like to share some high-level information with you, and by all means, if there's interest after the webinar today, please feel free to reach out to us on our website, or Mary's going to share a slide with our sales number and sales email, and I'd be happy to get more granular and give you and your team an extended colleagues a formal, more intricate demo. But to address some of those points now, it's important to reaffirm, as Mary mentioned, that our solution is completely agnostic. So regardless of what marketing automation form you use, or what CRM you use, or who's hosting your forms, our solution can work. As Mary mentioned, we've worked with a variety of different types of forms. And the other thing is, in terms of implementation time, our average customer can get up and running in about 2 to 3 business days. We typically average about 10 business hours, half of your time, half of our time. Everyone that engages with ReachForce will get assigned a customer success implementation manager that essentially becomes an extension of your team and can help get you up and running in those 2 to 3 business days. The way that we price SmartForms is an annual subscription based not on website traffic, not on the total volume of forms you have. Marketo has over 180 different landing pages, so whether you have 8 or 180, that doesn't matter. What we charge based off of is the total number of web form submits over the course of the year. And we have different volume buckets, to accommodate that. Because you can have, obviously, some growth, or, Mary's kicking off some SEO and SEM and PPC campaigns that'll probably drive up our inbounds. So we account for some flexibility and wiggle room with the ranges that we have. So that's pretty much everything that I would like to share with you all today from a sales perspective regarding our SmartForms technology solution. And I'm going to hand this over to Mary, and we would be happy to go into more depth and more detail if interested after the webinar.
So I'm going to have JJ throw up that last slide. We kept this short on purpose because I know I go to a lot of webinars, and I think there's a lot of filler. I hope we kept it fairly filler-free. I did have a couple points that came up just as marketing person listening to JJ that I thought were pretty cool, and I just wanted to make sure that they were elaborated so that you could all be aware. For example, with the junk detection, and I'm going to clarify this with JJ, with the junk detection, does that mean that the leads don't even enter your system? They're just kicked out?
Nope, that's a great question. We will still, give you the 4 data fields that they have entered and obviously the, junk detection confidence level. But you can still get inferred geo lookup as well if we didn't match. And so for that reason, you get to determine, what proper routing you're going to do with that. So as a best practice, we recommend you put that in a different queue as opposed to pushing it straight for your marketing automation engine into your CRM.
So it's flagged as junk?
It is flagged as junk. The score would be junk detected. And let me go up to this last slide as you requested, Mary. All right, and let me pull this up so everyone can see. All right. Okay.
All righty. Yeah, I think that's really cool because not having to deal with those is really nice, and so you can just flag them and have them handled separately depending on how your marketing automation works. I actually had a question which we had one of our customer success managers look at, and it was, can you do the, can you incorporate the SmartForm solution in an iframe on another landing page? And so a lot of people are using WordPress as their CMS or even Sitecore. We have implemented SmartForms on both those platforms, and yes, you can definitely put a SmartForm enabled form inside of an iframe so that it can be embedded on a landing page elsewhere depending on what your origin source was. But yeah, that's absolutely one of the capabilities. So I think that that probably the rest that covers the bulk of the questions that we had from you guys out there. Additional questions we're going to be handling directly, and if you have more granular questions for us, you'd like to arrange a more in-depth demo, please reach out to us at sales@reachforce.com or call us. We actually answer the phone, and we have live people here. In fact, we're based here in Austin, Texas. As is our entire technology team, except for a small group in California. And so we look forward to talking with you soon, and we thank you so much for your time today and attending, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.